was a SEC Triple Crown winner. That's only happened 2 times in the history of college baseball. Last year, 2017, first round draft pick by the Twins. So far, he played about 60 games in the minor leagues, something like that. 281, 18 home runs so far, 52 RBIs. Had a great start to your minor league career. Thanks for joining me, Brent. Appreciate you coming
Yeah,
on.
absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So, really wanted to pick your brain about hitting. A lot of our followers and our audience is really interested in the pattern of the swing and the sequence of the swing. So let's go ahead and start with, your decision to stay at Mississippi State for an extra year. You got drafted, it was 2016, correct?
Yes.
And you got drafted in the 38th round. You decided to stay at school for one more year. And the following year you were picked 35th by the Twins. Talk about that process and what were some of the changes you made to your swing from that one year to the next.
Yeah, in 2016, I had a good year. I put up some good numbers. I just throughout the course of that year and even into the summer following into the draft, I felt like there was more ability, inside me that I hadn't been able to get out yet. There was more in the tank as far as production and numbers wise. Just I felt if I could make a few offensive adjustments, that I could really go to another level, so to speak. So I made some adjustments to my swing. Worked really hard on some posture things. The way that I was loading, where I was putting my energy. Kind of adjusting that from more of like a sway back to go forward type load into more of a sit in the rear hip, get that coil going on. And that really, it started to click over the summer, going into the fall of my last year, and then I continued to try to work on it and make more adjustments throughout that fall and into the preseason scrimmages. And then, going into the season, obviously, there were some improvements made, but I just kept trying to improve it throughout the season as well, and it really paid off.
Nice. Yeah, I posted a couple videos of your swing, and you can really notice that posture and that tilt that you kind of have over the plate. One of the picture or videos I showed was a curveball, and it showed you kind of hovering on that backside, not putting your foot down early, just really reading that pitch as it fell, and your posture kind of allowed you to really just have that ultimate barrel control, and that's pretty impressive. So you went from being were you more on your front foot, would you say, because of you were a sway guy?
Yeah, so obviously if you go back to start your load, then all that energy that you put back has to just be pushed forward. So a lot of the times, if I was on time with that sway, then I would, take a good swing and I would be able to do damage and drive the ball. But it's just very hard to master timing and to be on time consistently when there's that much lateral movement going on. There's
Right.
less agility, so any off-speed pitch that you're not sold out for, you're not going to be able to stay on. Any fastball that's maybe a tick harder or a tick slower than you're expecting, you're not going to be able to make solid contact. So it's more of just a timing window. When there's the big sway back to go forward, timing becomes way more difficult, and just kind of being consistently in a position to hit and do damage is going to become hard to do.
Yeah, that's great, man. We really talk about that with our hitters, finding a position where you can hit from and the movements that you can create so you have some adjustability. And would you say that's kind of the biggest thing for you is your senior year, or excuse me, your junior year, you hit 387, 23 homers, 82 RBIs. Would you say that was one of the biggest parts of being able to, do what you're doing in the rear hip, as you had more adjustability?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, as you continue to move up levels, the pitching gets better and better. A lot of what hitting is just creating the biggest margin for error possible. So that's going to be being able to adjust to different pitches, different locations, different velocities. It's going to be getting your barrel in the zone for the longest amount of time possible, because we know as pitchers get better, hitting's already hard enough. So when you're facing a really good guy, really elite arm on the mound, then you've just got to put yourself in a position where your margin for error is as large as possible to give yourself a chance to have success.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things that's gonna allow you to have a lot of success at the pro level is you don't have to change your swing that much, and I work with a lot of minor league guys, and they're at the point where they spent their whole college career doing, certain things their college coach told them, and then now they're trying to, like you said, find a way to get more on plane,
Right.
find a way to have more adjustability, and it kind of makes it difficult when you're at the minor league level. So that's a good point because I think it's huge to really get these mechanics and a foundation early in your career so you can kind of learn this and
Yeah,
learn the
absolutely.
adjustability. So yeah,
Absolutely. The biggest, like, so you talk about the adjustability. A big thing for me was the adjustability and then the on plane thing kind of go hand in hand. So my sophomore year, my swing was, because I was constantly falling forward off my backside, my swing became much steeper down through the zone. And then obviously, when it's coming down through the zone, you're less on plane with the pitch, and you have a smaller window on which to make good barrel contact with that pitch, because you're going to end up just either clipping the ball or driving it to the ground, whatever. Whereas if you eliminate that fall forward and you have more of a controlled move forward, um, controlled by your posterior chain, by your back hip, then you're going to be off playing longer. And like I said, that margin for error and the window you have to make solid contact just continues to grow and become larger. And that's going to give you a much higher chance of success.
definitely. So that answers one of my questions. What are the keys to your swing? And you kind of staying in your back hip, finding a good plane, not getting onto your front side too much, having a good posture. I mean, those
Yep.
things are kind of the foundation of kind of our lessons and the things that we want to give guys. So, your swing is extremely powerful. Give us a few things that the hitters, the hitters that are listening can take home. Like, why is this guy's swing so powerful? What does he do to create all his power?
So the physical ability that I have is I'm not extremely mobile. I'm not very flexible. Some guys get a lot of power and a lot of bat speed. Like, you look at a guy like Josh Donaldson, who's just very, very mobile, very flexible. He moves freely, he moves loosely, and that gives him a lot of whip.
Right.
I don't have that, so my ability comes from just strictly my ability to rotate fast, to turn fast, and that's going to be, other guys generate bat speed from that way. So there's multiple ways to increase bat speed, which is in turn going to increase exit velo, going to increase power, and that's it's dependent on that guy. It's dependent on the individual, whether
Right.
you need to get physically stronger, get in the weight room, whether you need to get more mobile, more flexible, be able to turn quicker. There's a lot of things you can do to try to increase that power, but it's all going to be individualized. There's not one set in stone way to do it, because it's going to be very dependent on what that particular athlete needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as I'm watching your swing, you aren't just a rotational guy. You create a forward move. You create a stretch, and I think that's one of the things that I've noticed a little bit about your swing now is that sometimes you're kind of like an Ian Kinsler almost, where you bring your feet a little bit closer together as you kind of gather. You kind of creep them together, and then you have a stretch. To me, that's where you're getting a lot of your power too, and that's cool to hear that because that rotation aspect, I think some people can get away from that, in a sense
Yeah.
that they can get really like pushy, and so that's cool to hear that you drive a lot of your power from your rotation and not just flexibility because you can't be flexible overnight. It's
Right.
something that has to come. So that's awesome. We have an Instagram question from Scott McMillan, TMC Mill 81. What is What's your practice routine in the off season? Are you hitting velocity machines? Are you doing a lot of T work? Give us an example of what you're doing in the off season.
Okay, so to start the day, hitting wise, I'll do a bunch of just kind of movement prep type things, make sure my body's moving properly, make sure my energy's going in the right place, I'm coming out of that in the right place. Make sure my hips, glutes, back, all that is ready to do what it needs to do to help for me to be able to continue to build and improve my swing. So that's going to be some plyometric stuff, a lot of like I said, a lot of just mobility stuff, a lot of movement stuff, what we call movement prep, and then from there it's going to be just kind of working segmentally on bits of the swing. So working on the way I store, where I put my energy, how I put my energy there. Working on that little bit of the swing. The next little bit is going to be working on coming out of that position. Working on putting force in the ground, working on rotating your foot down, and then from there it's going to be working on the finish, working on the last little bit of rotation that we need to get to have that, that extra strength to drive the ball over outfielders' heads. And then from there, I don't do a lot of tee work. I mainly move into front flips or dart toss or whatever you want to do to kind of try to put the whole swing together and work on some timing stuff, work on just the ability to drive the ball to all fields, making sure that we're hitting the ball hard, making sure we're hitting the ball in the air, and then from there, I will do some two types of machines: breaking ball machine and then high spin fastball machine. I'll do both of those things in the off season to make sure you're still seeing some velocity when you're not getting a lot of at bats, making sure you're still seeing the breaking balls, to put yourself on time with a little bit more game like situations.
Yeah, right. When you do your movement stuff, are you in front of the mirror? Are you just kind of in the cage doing that? Are you watching yourself? How do you go about your movement stuff?
I've used mirror before, just kind
Uh-huh.
of make sure that I'm in the position that I want to be, but a lot of it's just in the cage,
Yeah.
or right outside the cage, moving around, doing, just doing what I need to do to feel like that my body's ready to hit.
Got it. Yeah, that's a great point because a lot of guys just go straight into hitting and
Yeah,
subtract the rehearsing, and that rehearsing for me is something I push on everyone. Like
absolutely.
do that at home even more. Sometimes we'll do it when we hit together, but do that at home every day. Give yourself that preparation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's awesome. So walk us through kind of you mentioned timing a little bit. Walk us through how you established such a you have a really good an idea how to be on time, and when pro hitters come in and hit at my facility, you know you can just tell that every single ball is hit by the front foot, and it's like second nature to them. They don't even have to think about it. It just happens. Just talk to us about when you established your ability to be on time like that.
That really didn't happen. Like I said, my sophomore year, that was the thing I struggled with. Is I would have a hard time being consistently on time with high velocity guys, with guys who could change speeds, change locations effectively. So that ability, or the improvement on that ability, came really before my junior year started. And that's kind of what I was talking about. I eliminated the fall forward, which helped me to be on time way more consistently. And just understanding that when your swing is right, you can always be on time for a fastball because you can shut your swing down on breaking balls. That's a big key too, because if you're on time for a fastball, then obviously you're going to be a little bit early on the breaking ball, but you're going to have that adjustability built into your swing
Mm-hmm.
that allows you to stay on that pitch and still be able to do something with it, as opposed to being on time for one pitch, and then if it's anything but that pitch, you have no chance.
Right.
So that's big for me, is making sure that I'm always on time to hit a fastball, and then trusting my swing that if it's a breaking ball in the zone, I have that adjustability to be able to pause that second and then still create that stretch and fire to be able to do damage on the breaking ball, or if it's a breaking ball out of the zone, change up down, fastball in, or whatever, that I have the ability built in my swing that I can shut it down, and be able to take that ball with an aggressive take.
So when you're practicing, are you driving the ball? Are you doing rounds to right center? Are you doing rounds kind of? Because I notice you don't pull every single home run, but a lot of what you're doing is you're hitting the ball a little bit out in front on some of those home
Yeah.
runs compared to maybe, I don't know. Do you do that in practice, or what's your kind of routine?
So all of my BP rounds are just geared towards driving the ball over the center fielder's head. I don't necessarily do one round to right field, one round to left field, whatever. I just want to stay up the middle, driving the ball hard over the center fielder's head. And then obviously, if a ball shows up, and then I'll pull it, because that's what we need to do. If a ball's a little bit more away, then we can take that to right center. But my focus and my target stays center field, trying to drive the ball hard over the center fielder's head. And to me, that puts me in the best position to be able to do more damage on more pitches.
Yeah, really good intent. We talk. Some guys can't hit the ball as far as you, so we talk about still trying to hit the ball.
Yeah.
Just like that. That's a great point. I wanted to make sure everyone understands that, because despite the fact that you can hit a ball over the field, over the fence and left, that's not necessarily how you're trying to go about your practice, and that's a result of being out in front on a ball a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
And catching it. You know, obviously we can hit a little bit more to left field. The fences are a little shorter, but you would probably agree that your power is to center field, right?
Yeah, definitely. The pitches that you go right down the line and left should never be on purpose. That should be just the pitch that shows up and then you rotate a little bit quicker and you get the head out. That should be the pitch.
Right.
That you're a little bit out in front on, but the intent and the target and the focus for me should always be trying to drive the ball to center field.
Awesome. Hey, a few more questions, man. This is great stuff. You know, your consistency, when you first got to the minor leagues, it looked like you were just kind of getting your feet wet, and it was one of those things where you really figured it out quickly. So for the last couple of years, you've been relatively consistent. Talk about consistency and the relationship, you know, of that to the mental side of hitting for you, and how you've been able to, you know, maybe you go 0 for 4 or you're 4 for 4 with 3 home runs. How do you keep yourself from getting too high and too low when things, you know, are peaking or you're not doing, like, you know, having the results that you want to get?
No, it's a good question. A lot of it is just, one, it's trusting and having conviction in what you do. So right now I think we're 11 games in. I'm in AA right now. We're 11 games in the season. I have not started like I wanted to. I'm struggling a little bit, but I have conviction in what I do, knowing that if I continue on my process and continue, doing the things that have allowed me to have success in the past, that that time is going to come where I'm going to break out. I'm going to start hitting like I want to. At the same time, those times when you're going really well, you got to remember that this game is really hard. And you can't sustain those 4 for 4s all the time. You're going to have those dips. You're going to have those peaks. You're going to have those valleys, and it's just the conviction in doing what you do is going to continue to give you confidence when times aren't going as good as you'd like them to, and then at the same time, just remembering those times when you're going well, because you know that you're going to come out of that hot streak at some point, because it's baseball and that's what happens. And then when you go back into that little dip, you got to remember what you were doing correctly when you were going well, and then having conviction that if you continue to try to build on those thoughts, build on that process, that you're going to maintain a level of consistency throughout the year that's going to allow you to produce like you need to.
Totally. There's so many things out there that, you know, as far as the mental side of the game goes, but I think believing in yourself, you know, that's same as conviction. That's huge, you know, and a lot of kids look for confidence, and you're talking about struggling in 11 games and still believing in yourself, you know, and
yeah,
that's
absolutely.
I think that's important. You know, kids, you know, young kids can have one bad week, and where that's 2 games maybe at the most, maybe 3 games for them at the most, and they're thinking they're in a slump, you know, and that just makes things worse. So that's huge. I think believe in yourself, guys, and remember that things don't have to go well all the time for you to believe in yourself, for sure. Well, this was great, man. Let me ask you one more question. Just walk us through the day in the life of a pro baseball player. You are, like you said, you know, started about 11 games so far. Talk to us about your daily routine a little bit.
Okay, so normally it'll be, you don't get home from the field the night before until probably 11. So, normally sleep in until 10:30, get up, make some breakfast, kind of hang out at the apartment, go to the field around 12:30 or 1. Today I'll head up there a little bit early, get a lift in beforehand. I won't, because we have a doubleheader today. Normally on a regular game day, I'd go get a lift in around 1:30, eat a little bit after that, and then do all your early work, whether you're doing early defense that day, early hitting, get that in, and then stretch will be around 4 o'clock. BP 4:15 to 5:15, hang out in the locker room till 7 when game time is 7:15. Play the game, shower up at the clubhouse, hang out a little bit, get dinner there. And like I said, it's come home, get home 10:30, 11, have a little bit of time at the apartment to wind down, play PlayStation, watch Netflix, do whatever you want to do until you get to bed. And then it's just kind of repeat the next day, sleeping again a little bit until 9:30, 10, get up, go to the field, do your early work, and just kind of repeat the process over and over. But it's definitely a life of routine.
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's a good time. Being with your teammates that much is what makes it fun and enjoyable. And we're all in this process together. So just kind of forming those relationships is pretty special, and I'm enjoying it.
Awesome. Well, hey, best of luck to you the rest of the season, man, Brent. We're going to be seeing you in a big league uniform soon. I'm excited listening to all the tips here. And like I said, we really appreciate you coming on. Hopefully we'll stay in touch here, a year from now or so when you're playing, whatever position they got you,
Right.
They're going to be, you're testing out a lot of different positions right now, kind of thing. Yeah, so wherever they got you playing, hopefully we'll see you in the lineup with the Twins soon, man. And like I said, Brent, really appreciate you giving all us this great insight, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.